Never been a very big Dr. Phil fan. I think he's a complete clown. I've always felt that way about him. I don't think he has any idea what he's talking about. He appeared on the Laura Ingraham show. What a shocker. You know, Laura Ingraham would put on another right-winger. That's just shocking to me that Laura Ingraham would do that. But anyway, Dr. Phil was on the Racist Witches show last night, and Dr. Phil said that we shouldn't shut down the country, you know, because we don't do it for automobile deaths or cigarette-related deaths. Have a listen to this ridiculous audio.
250 people a year die from poverty, and the poverty line is getting such that more and more people are going to fall below that because the economy is crashing around us. And they're doing that because people are dying from the coronavirus. I get that. But look, the fact of the matter is we have people dying. 45,000 people a year die from automobile accidents, 480,000 from cigarettes, 360,000 a year from swimming pools, but we don't shut the country down for that. But yet we're doing it for this, and the fallout is going to last for years because people's lives are being destroyed.
Okay, you dope. First of all,
nothing dopish about that.
Really.
Nothing dopish
so
about
last I checked, JD, smoking a cigarette is a choice, is it not? If a person goes to a supermarket and catches the coronavirus, is that on them? Is that if you smoke a cigarette, it is a choice. When you get into a car, you know that you are taking a risk. It's called an accident. Accidents happen. Getting the coronavirus is completely different. Does anybody force you to smoke a cigarette?
No, you're assuming the risk when you go to the grocery store, though.
Does anybody
by that same logic?
Does anybody force you to smoke a cigarette?
Of course not.
Okay, so how can you compare smoking cigarettes and dying from cancer to the coronavirus? Please explain to me that logic. Why you agree with that?
You're saying you're assuming the risk when you smoke a cigarette. You're assuming the risk when you go to the grocery store and there's a coronavirus crisis or an outbreak of some sort. And you assume the risk when you get into an automobile regardless.
So you want to compare smoking cigarettes.
You talk about assuming. Your whole premise was based on assuming the risk. You assume the risk under all those circumstances.
So
anytime you leave your house, whether there's a crisis for corona or not, you're assuming a risk.
So you agree with Dr. Phil, and you think it's fair to compare smoking cigarettes and dying. Hold on, if I could just finish. Smoking cigarettes and dying to the coronavirus, and you think that is a reason because of car accidents and people dying of cancer and heart disease from smoking cigarettes, that is a valid reason and a valid argument to reopen the country.
No, I'm saying, Brian, there's 8,000 people that died in the United States before this took place every single day.
What does that have to do with anything?
Because it's all about saving lives, right? That's your whole. That's everything. So
what does the 8,000 people that die every day have to do with it?
People die of a lot of different reasons, and smoking cigarettes is one of the things that he said. You always do that. You take one thing and you use it
I'm not taking one thing.
And you use it as an all-encompassing way to try to trap the person that you're talking to.
I'm not doing that.
He talked about 5 different things. It wasn't just smoking cigarettes.
Okay. Go ahead. Let's talk about it.
So, you always assume your risk.
Let's talk about
whenever you're doing anything in this country, you assume your risk.
So you think that's what the president and the governor should say? Assume the risk?
And people die of a lot of... Again, Brian, we have honestly no idea what this mortality rate is. We don't know how many have this virus.
You're making my point for me.
No,
so
we don't.
open up the country because we don't know the mortality rate? That's ridiculous.
I'm just saying there's a very, very good chance that it's a lot lower. Not only that, but
you don't know that for a fact. You don't know that.
If there is one asymptomatic case in the country right now, one, that has not been tested for the coronavirus, who has the coronavirus, and I know that for a fact. That's all that means. That means that there are asymptomatic or mild cases, people who have the virus or who have had the virus since, we'll say, March 5th, who have not been tested for it, who will not die from it. That, Brian, automatically drops the mortality rate. So, yes, I do know that for a fact, assuming that there is one asymptomatic or mild case that has taken place, a silent carrier, so to speak, over the course since March 5th. And you know how I know that? Because there was for a number of reasons, but there was a study done on, and I like to comment about studies, but there was a study done in New York. They figured out that about 15% of all pregnant women had the coronavirus, and 87.9% of those pregnant women in New York hospitals were asymptomatic. So right there, that is the answer. There is a lot of asymptomatic cases, or there have been. That's why this is such a scary virus, because it's not someone is coughing and they've got a high temperature and when they're sick. There's a lot of people right now that they don't know that they're sick, and you don't know that they're sick. That's why this virus is so dangerous, because of the asymptomatic and the silent carriers. That's the biggest worry. It's not those who are openly severely ill, because they're sick. If someone's walking into a Smith's or a Vaughn's or a Costco and they're coughing up a storm, you can turn them away. But if you're asymptomatic, you have no idea. You could be at a table, you could be walking in a grocery store, you could be anywhere, and there could be someone that could give you the virus just by breathing. And that's why the virus is so terrifying. But until we really know how many people either had the virus, have antibodies to it, or currently have the virus, we're not going to know the mortality rate. And we can't make a definitive statement as far as how many lives are being saved by this. Because, again, right now there could be 30-40% of the country that have the virus. And it's all based on positive testing, right? Like a place like New York City, where it's 40%, where there's vertical living. Everybody lives on top of each other. You have a major public transit system. A place like that with a strong population density, the chance that virus has been spread and there is a lot of asymptomatic or silent carriers is a lot higher than a place like a Wyoming or a South Dakota or an Arizona, where it's spread out and you don't have a major population density. You don't have a giant urban area where you have hundreds of thousands, or in the case of New York, millions of people literally living on top of each other. You don't have that.
Okay, I'm not sure what that has to do with Dr. Phil, because we were talking about Dr. Phil, and I was very frustrated with Dr. Phil's statements about automobile deaths, comparing the coronavirus to automobile deaths, which I think is idiotic and probably one of the dumbest things you could do, comparing it to cigarette-related deaths. That's what I was referring to when we played the Dr. Phil audio. I think it's idiotic, ignorant. It is a choice to smoke a cigarette. To compare that choice and risk to somebody just going out and playing with their kid in a park or going to the supermarket or playing a pickup basketball game. I'm sorry. I'm just saying it. That opinion to me is idiotic. It is idiotic to think that comparing smoking a cigarette to coronavirus is the same. So why don't we just open everything up? It is so ridiculous. We have a lot of people on hold. We want to get your thoughts on this at 257-5396. Let's go to Lou. Lou, thank you for waiting patiently on hold. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Lou?
Lou, are you there, my friend? 702-257-5396 is the number to call. I have no idea who the next caller is. Matthew, you're next on the Vegas take. What's going on?
This is Pat. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry about that, Pat. What's going on?
That's all right. Hey, you guys are going to agree with me and disagree with me. I think Dr. Phil is partially right. I think you're right. I think JD's right. I think everybody's right in their argument. So the question is balance. How do we balance getting things back in order, back in line? And I know that talk about incremental opening of businesses, county by county, state by state. You guys are both right in your arguments. I agree on both sides. So there has to be balance somewhere there.
Can I ask you a question? If you don't mind, let me ask you, what do you agree with when it comes to Dr. Phil, when he compares it to cigarette smoking and automobile deaths?
Maybe I should rephrase myself. I agree with what he said in regards to the numbers of people dying. I agree to that part.
Okay, but you agree with me then that it's completely ridiculous to compare cigarette-related deaths to the coronavirus, and that's a reasoning for reopening the country.
Well, yes and no. That's what I'm saying. That I'm seeing both sides of the argument, and that's, again, brings me back to the word balance.
Right.
Okay, I think that's very dangerous, though.
It's not, Brian. It's not dangerous to integrate science and economical damage and public morale, which Trump has done every single day since he's been doing the press conferences. That's his entire job is to minimize deaths, minimize economic damage, and make people happy to be sitting at home with nothing to do, basically.
All right. Well, hypothetically speaking, I'm wondering, JD, and God forbid, because I don't want this to happen, but God forbid somebody in your family dies. I wonder if the next day you'd be talking about the unemployment numbers. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Joey. Joey, you're next on the Vegas take.
Hey, what's up, Joey?
Yeah, let me preface this by saying I was born and raised in Las Vegas. Born at Sunrise Hospital, graduated from Rancho High School in UNLV, and I'm 44 years old. I've seen a lot of changes in this town. For Sisolak to, let me say this, and this is no offense to you, Brian, but JD, you have a tendency to need to make sense. And Democrats and liberals aren't going to let things like sense mess up their argument. They're not going to do that.
Okay, instead of making generalizations, can you tell me where you agree with Steve Sisolak and where you disagree with him and what you would have done differently instead of making large liberal generalizations?
Where I disagree with Steve Sisolak is this is not Chicago where you got the headquarters to Walgreens, Abbott Laboratories, State Farm, Atlanta, where you got the headquarters to UPS. Home
Okay,
Depot.
I get all that. What would you
Only
do
thing
differently?
You have here is the Strip, and if without the Strip, you're just a little desert town.
So you don't think people can gather in more than 10 people if they're off the Strip? Is that your point? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is, when you keep the Strip shut down, who do you think you are? You're not these other cities. You cannot rebound from keeping. That's all you have.
So what are you saying? So what are you saying? We should just reopen everything? Is that your point, Joey?
What I'm saying is, this needs to have. It should have had a rigorous debate.
A rigorous debate. So you disagree with Sisolak closing down the Strip?
Let me say this. This reminds me, as a Republican in
Won't answer the
2001. Can I just say this? Can I make?
Well, you're not answering my questions. I mean, you're making generalizations, and I'm giving you specific questions.
I'm going to make it like this. In 2001, when we went to war with Iraq, I disagreed with that. But it was everybody that did not agree with that was called, oh, you were anti-American. You were siding with the terrorists.
Nobody told me that. I was anti-Iraq. I don't know what you're talking about. If you could please answer my questions. This has nothing to do with Iraq. What would you do differently? You're going against Steve Sisolak. You've made general comments about liberals. You keep saying, well, there should have been a debate. I'm asking you a very specific question. Do you think Steve Sisolak did the right thing by closing down the Strip? What exactly would you do differently?
No, I don't think you did the right thing, but then you're going to
You think this okay, so no, hold on. Let's go with that for a second. You think the Strip
He's going to definitely call you a moron,
You think if I could just speak for myself, you think that the Strip should have been open this whole time. Is that your take, sir?
You could have done something. Yeah, it could have been something done differently than close it.
Is it a yes or no question? Yes, it is.
Yes,
Would you have kept the Strip open? You can't criticize the governor and then not answer these questions. Would you have kept the Strip open, and would it still be open now? Yes or no? Answer the question.
I definitely would have, simply because of the fact.
All right, well, you probably would have killed millions of people, and I would call you a murderer. Have a nice day, sir. Have a nice day. Have a nice day, sir.
Again, Brian, keeping the Strip open because it's so dependent on tourism.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. I mean,
Joey the murderer just called in.
Joey the murderer. So
yeah.
it's crazy. So if someone agrees with you, they can say, yes, I agree.
So
with
are you okay?
But if they, let me finish.
Innocent people would have died if the Strip was open.
If I could finish, please, Brian. If I could finish.
Go
Brian.
ahead.
If I could finish. Okay. So if someone doesn't agree with you, though, they have to not only say why they can't just say, oh, I don't agree with you. They have to explain themselves.
Yeah, that's usually what you do with an opinion.
As to why they don't agree with you.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So anyone who doesn't agree with you has to explain themselves as to why and what they would do.
Do you agree with that caller? You think the Strip should have been open this whole time?
I've been saying for a week and a half that economically it would make no sense at all for the Strip to be open while this is taking place.
Okay. Well, that guy not saying a week and a half ago. He's saying from day one the Strip should have been open. It's idiotic.
What he was not factoring in was the fact
people dying. He's not factoring in people dying.
People wouldn't come. People wouldn't come, Brian.
He's right. I have to agree with JD.
Okay, people would not come, so it wouldn't make a difference. You
so
could say
keep everything open.
You could say people would die, but I'm saying they wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be here to die.
Okay.
Because they wouldn't come.
All right. Well, I think that guy.
Now on May 1st, do I think everything should be open? Yes, I do.
All right, let's go back to the call.
I think they should have the option to open up. Now, do I think the Strip will open up until June 20th? No, I don't, because they depend on other states being opened up. They depend on, in this case, domestic tourism to actually make enough money to keep their doors open, Brian.
All right, we got a full board, so I want to try to get to as many phone calls as I can at 257-5396. Let's go to Troy. Troy, you're next. What's going on?
Hey, Troy.
Morning. Hey, I think the governor made a great call shutting everything down. And then I think if he believes and his doctors have enough data that the virus is so contagious and deadly that businesses, even that are willing to abide by social distancing guidelines, can't open up yet, then I think he's putting our grocery workers in peril. And if one of them dies, then, according to some standards, he could go to prison for involuntary.
Well, here's where I agree with you. Troy. And by the way, I agree with most of what you said. I do think there needs to be more parameters and more rules or laws, whatever you want to call them, when it comes to these supermarkets. Because you're right. These cash register people, the people that are stocking and all that other stuff, they are in harm's way. Just like, maybe not as much as a doctor or a nurse, but there's no question they're around people all day long, the people that work in the post office. So you're right, Troy. I agree with you, and I think there needs to be more strict parameters for people that work in those positions. I completely agree with you.
And do you think that, because I know the president's coming out with some guidelines, and people say let's open it back up, and when I hear open it back up, I don't hear let's go back to the old way. I hear let's open it up slowly, let's wear masks, let's social distance.
Yeah, and I think that's the vigilant way of doing it when that does happen. And let's also remind people are still going to be scared. People aren't going to be going out there in droves, and I understand
some
that.
are, and a lot aren't, Brian. For example, there's a Facebook group called Michiganders that are against excessive quarantine that has 500,000 Facebook members in it, Brian. I mean, you had 50,000 people basically either march or drive on the Lansing Capitol 2 days ago.
While I'm wearing masks,
that's fine, but there are a lot of people right now. And now, do I think that maybe every single citizen should be sent a mask? Yeah, I would. I mean, I've actually invested in a couple of masks myself. I don't think it's a horrible idea to wear a mask, but the fact of the matter remains, New York City is way different than what's going on pretty much anywhere else in the country except New Jersey. 5 states right now are responsible for 65% of deaths and 60% of cases.
Michigan is actually the third highest. Number of cases. It's New York, New Jersey, then Michigan.
All right, let's try to get to more phone calls.
It's odd that the protests are happening there.
Let's go to Chris, 257-5396. Chris, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Chris?
Hey, guys. Thanks. Great show. Hey, look, it was a quick comment, and then I'll hang up, and you guys can respond if warranted. Sisolak was not irresponsible to close down the Strip and all the businesses, but what I think was total insanity was to, basically wish all these workers into the cornfield of unemployment and to do nothing in the way of a plan to bolster the unemployment system. The phone is constantly busy. Brian, you said people are getting $600 a week. Those are the lucky few who have actually been able to get through to the office to file a claim. The website's crashed constantly. The phone is chronically busy. By 8:30, they open at 8 a.m. By 8:30, the phone queues are full for the rest of the day.
Sure, let me comment on that.
And then one last thing, just quick.
Yep.
Sisolak received federal guidance on April 5th for the compensation for gig workers like Airbnb people, Uber drivers, all of those people in that gray area, so they could receive their money. It's the 17th. They still have not implemented the system to compensate those.
Yeah,
so
that's inexcusable.
People, they could have had their money by the 5th if they had some preparation involved.
Yeah. Well, Chris, let me say this. Everything you've just said is absolutely fair criticism. And even though most of the people that I know are doing okay and they've received their unemployment benefits, you're right. It's extremely difficult for people to get through on the phone lines. There should have been some sort of thing put in place. And by the way, it's not just Sisolak. This is going on throughout the country. I don't want to just blame the state of Nevada. A lot of these unemployment benefit websites are very, very difficult to get through because they've never had to deal with this type of volume before.
Nevada is by far the worst because per capita, Nevada has, we're literally looking at 25% unemployment. That might break a national record, Brian. Do you realize that? And the system is archaic, and Trump actually made reference to that a month and a half ago. He said all these states, a lot of their structures are very, very old. They're not going to be able to handle this much traffic. And Nevada is the poster boy for that particular situation.
Okay, but again, it goes back to the circle of what I always say with you, and that even though some people might be struggling to get those unemployment benefits, and even though the website wasn't set up the way it should have set up, that is also should not be a mitigating factor in a reason to dangerously open up the country before it should be open.
It is frustrating, but I believe at least in Nevada and some other states there will be some retroactive pay for people who can't get through and sign up.
Which is a good thing. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Alex. Alex, you're next up on the Vegas Take. Thank you, Alex. Alex must have just received his unemployment benefits. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. I don't know who the next caller is. Austin? Okay, Austin, thank you for calling into the Vegas Take. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Austin?
Austin, are you there, sir? Go ahead, Austin.
Hey, you there?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just calling to get educated, I guess. I want to know what the difference between the swine flu pandemic and the H1N1 and then this virus is. What's the difference?
Well, the big difference between this virus is they've never seen anything like it before, and there's no cure for it. Also, the ways of getting this virus is easier than any other virus we've seen in our lifetime. For example, someone could just talk a foot away from you, not even cough or sneeze, but just by talking, you can contract the virus. Any touch, it lasts a while on objects. JD talked about it the other day on the bottom of your feet. I mean, we've never seen a virus. The problem, there's two main issues with this virus, Austin, in my personal opinion. I think most doctors would agree with me. The two biggest problems with this virus is we don't have anything that can cure it. Obviously, that's problem number one. And problem number two, how easy it is to get it from other people. So it's a really bad recipe for disaster.
Well, and it's not just how, again, it would be different if you knew who had it. So it's not only very contagious,
it's silent.
It's contagious for those who are not showing any symptoms.
Right, and it's
Did
silent.
You know
Right.
18,000 people died from H1N1 in
Yeah,
one
I
year.
thought it was
Did you know that?
12,000. I thought it was 12,000.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
Yep.
so the difference is Obama and Trump, pretty much, is what I'm hearing.
No, I think I think if this was not an election year, the coverage would be a lot different.
Correct.
I do believe that.
Well, let me say this, though. The president had
strong-armed
three.
China in the last 2 years over billions of dollars.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird, too.
Yeah, it is. I agree with you. There's a lot of weird things going on
I'll
here.
talk about that later.
Thanks,
Donald
brother.
Trump.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate the call.
Thanks for the call, Austin.
Trump did have 3.5 years in office. It's not like he just took over either. So for those that want to blame, and I know he wasn't blaming Obama, he was praising Obama, actually. Let's go back to the calls.
He was saying the media would not have responded this way under the circumstances of it was Barack Obama that was.
Well, I don't think
president.
Obama would handle the press conferences the way Donald Trump does when he attacks people left and right and he brags about ratings and he makes a video, a 4-minute video.
He attacks them when he gets attacked, but he's been doing that since the start of his presidency. So again, to your point, you should not be surprised by that.
702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to John. John, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, John?
John, go ahead. You're next. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to L. L, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Finally. Good morning, guys.
Hi, El.
Brian, like you, I know someone right now who is, I'm actually from New Orleans. I know someone right now who's in the hospital suffering with this. It's different when you know people, and his only issue was going to work. He works at one of these plants. These plants are breeding grounds for all these diseases. They did not have masks. They didn't have anything. So I, like you, am really insulted when I hear people say about going to work and money and all of this. When people
Talk to JD because he makes this argument every day.
I'll tell you something. So I have two friends back in Omaha, Nebraska, that were recovering from drug addiction, and they were not able to go to their meeting in person that helped keep them sober. And a couple of weeks ago, two friends actually relapsed on their drug, and they had an overdose and they died. So I do have a little bit now. I firmly believe that if they were not at home, if they could have been able to go to their in-person meetings to maintain their sobriety, that would have not have taken place. So it happens on both sides of the equation. And I'm sorry to hear about your friend. I hope your friend gets better, but you have to. I like to factor in the possible damages that are taking place from those who are unemployed, from those who are battling addiction.
Let her respond to that. Go ahead, El.
Yes, please. My only response to that is going to be, now, you keep saying people that are unemployed and all of this, they could do all of these things. I happen to be one who's unemployed. I know that I qualify for the unemployment. However, it's so long. It's a process, and I know it's going to be a while. I have no intentions of doing anything drastic. I mean, it makes no sense. It's inconvenient, but I have no intentions. And, Brian, you were saying that people that are unemployed are going to get more money than they earned.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I had to cut you off, El, because we're up against a hard break. But coming up next, we're going to be speaking with former Nevada Attorney General George Chanos. George Chanos coming up next on the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.